Flying Casual is brought to you by Patreon supporters Brent, David Bush, Jory Webb, Nate Edison, Wes Anderson, Kelly Breckner, and Andy Dugan. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Star Wars fans, welcome to Flying Casual's 5th installment of our Casual Council. Holly, 5 straight months of talking to some of our closest Star Wars fans.
We love them.
We love them, and it's grown. And I disclose not all of our Jedi Masters are here from our Patreon family, but we do have with us our good friend Jory. Jory, how you doing?
Doing good, bud. Doing real good.
We also
Ready to talk Star Wars.
Ready to talk some Star Wars, hot and heavy. We got Nettie here as well. Nettie, the woodsman beard, coming in mighty fine, I will say. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
And our good friend Brent recently moved. I can't tell if it's Dagobah, Holly there, but I'm seeing bamboo, so maybe not.
I was thinking Kashyyyk, but then I didn't see the big
There
trees.
may be bamboo on Kashyyyk. Brent, can you confirm? Are you on Kashyyyk?
Well, I'm not going to give away the new location of the Sith homeworld or
The
anything.
new Sith homeworld on Kashyyyk. I can't imagine what the Wookiees would think. I don't think they've seen Sith magic before.
Well, I think they've seen some Sith magic in the past. It's I've got in trouble for about 30 years or so.
That's true. That's actually very true. That's very
They're probably
true.
sick of us by now, but
That's okay. That's okay. Well, you're there to stay,
I was
so
gonna
there's
say.
nothing
Right.
they're going to do about it. But
just
guys,
wanted to say, Jory, nice
Yeah.
job on the trivial trials last time. I don't think we ever got to actually congratulate each other at the end of it, but
it was
excellent
amazing.
rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I plugged it last time we talked, but it was just so much fun. Like,
So much.
I think everybody knows by now, Brent, he took the day, but no, it was just a lot of fun. It was a really good time.
Yeah, it was
It
definitely a
was
blast.
such a good time, and I actually didn't even realize that we definitely have some people that will listen on YouTube, but not, we're a podcast, so not everyone's going to go to YouTube. But, we took the week off, so I posted the audio for it. And even like Wade surprised me. Wade's like,
Yeah.
hey, this was awesome. I was like, Wade, you didn't check it out when it premiered? What the hell? But that's okay. We love him still. But so we're going to keep, spilling that audio there, I think, on the podcast, because they are a lot of fun. And I think we're going to schedule the next one here for a few weeks. If Nettie's ready, I think it's time for him to step up to the challenge.
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm going to hit up Wes as well. I think I feel like he's ready as well. But we're going to see. I think it could be some. I'm not going to pull any Ewok adventures right now. There's no Battle for Endor yet.
Yeah.
That's going to come, when people can get hard copies of the film. We'll have to figure out how to do that. But
Can we do like a Facebook watch party with that?
see, who has a hard copy? We're gonna have to do that and study together. That would actually be pretty entertaining. Live commentary while studying for trivia. I'm down for that. So, but it'll probably be solo. I think the next one will be solo. But so guys, we don't have our whole council here, and you know what? That's okay, because how many times did you see the entire Jedi Council all together at a council meeting? It happens very seldom, exactly, like once. Usually it's like little sidebars or sometimes off the record meetings, as Anakin knows far too well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, slam on him for not being present for some of those off the record meetings and being asked to do something he wasn't comfortable with. Can we blame him?
No.
I mean, yeah, we can. He slayed younglings, Holly. It doesn't make it okay. Just because
But he did do that after they asked him to do all the stuff he didn't want to do.
That's true, but it doesn't make it okay.
But then, he didn't hesitate when they asked him to do that either. So
He did it.
The
did it.
anger was just building up inside him.
Yeah, it was penetrating him. It was flowing through him. So
There's a
it's-
lesson of inclusivity there.
Wow.
Mm.
Very, very topical, Holly. Appreciate that, bringing that in there. But yeah, so, I mean, not every time, is our whole council going to be able to be present, but I know Dugan and David are out there, once again, probably putting down some rebellions or, instigating rebellions.
Fighting the good fight.
So they're out there, Jedi Masters, taking care of business. But we have our council here. And Luke also, maybe, he may be coming in here too. We never know with Luke. Sometimes Luke is a total wild card. He just kind of, jumps in, or we'll see. I don't know. Maybe he's here inside the house. I have no idea.
That would be
That would
weird.
be awkward. Luke, come out now if you're here. He's not. Okay, we'll wait for him.
There would have been a tray of psychopathy right there if he was.
Slams down a 6-pack. Welcome home, Luke. Welcome home. So we've got the council assembled, guys, and I think it was last week, maybe Tuesday or something like that. We hit Empire Strikes Back's 40th anniversary. And a lot of people talking about what they love about it. I think here, this council, at least this present council right now, maybe we can all agree that it's one of our top films. Jory may throw us a curveball and bring in episode 2, and that's cool. I'm down. But we'll see. But I think we can, talk a little bit about that. Oh my God.
The man himself.
We speak his name, and the elder has risen. He is President Luke. It's so funny. We actually just talked about you, buddy, and said you may make an appearance. You may drop in. You may be in my house right now, and I just am not aware.
That would have been cooler if I snuck up.
That would have been wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked with a D, not Wicket, though. Wicket being in my house would also be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
I would be down for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Luke is now present, so we have a not a fully assembled council, but we're one stronger. But we were just talking about, we're gonna have a little conversation about Empire, what we love about it. Maybe some people have some issues with the movie. I would love to hear that. But what it means to us, what it did for Star Wars, I want to get into all of that. And I think also maybe some Mandalorian season 2 speculation. I think we're all kind of wondering what's going on with that production right now. Are they still producing it? Are there any cast members that we're not aware of at this point? And who are these people playing? What are we going to see? What does it all mean? I'd like to get some speculation out there as well. And then who knows where the conversation will take us? Holly.
What does it all mean?
What does it all mean? I want to hear what these guys have to say. And if they have any topics, I want them to bring them up. But this is our 5th installment of Casual Council. So let's get to it, guys. Jory, since I know you're a big fan of Empire Strikes Back, it's actually funny because Jory's saying, guys, I like the movie, but I don't think it's my favorite. So that's why I'm going to him first. Jory, whether you love it or hate it, or it's just an okay film, 40 years of it. I know you haven't experienced 40 years of it. You're a young man like myself. But what's the movie mean to you, man? What sticks out to you about that film? It may not be the favorite, but what sticks out?
So, when I was growing up, and I'm talking younger, obviously, prior to prequels, it was one of the only ones that I had to watch. And, obviously I had all 3, but out of those 3, it always kind of seemed to sit on the back burner. And I don't know why. And I don't know if it's because I couldn't grasp the storytelling. So I don't know if I just don't have the visual connection or the nostalgic connection that everybody else kind of did from their youth. And once again, I've said this a million times, all 9, I love them all. And so for me, it has always kind of sat a little bit lower. Even when I did our rankings, I think I put it at 7 for me. Yeah. And once again, not because I don't like them, it's just, it never really struck with me. And until I started, getting other people's perspectives, probably jumping on the bandwagon a little bit, and then realizing the deep, storytelling behind everything. And it is very slowly started to creep up. It's probably 4th or 5th for me. But as far as that, what's always rang out to me was the battle on Hoth. And I think that as soon as I think Empire Strikes Back, that's immediately where my mind goes. It doesn't go to I Am Your Father. It doesn't go to anything, like that almost anybody else thinks about. It just immediately I think of Hoth. Yeah. And I don't know if I watched that too many times where I'm it's whatever for me. But that's just where my mind always goes to it. Obviously one of the greatest movies of all time. Probably crazily enough, one of the biggest cinematic reveals of all time. I Am Your Father even though once we find out from Pitch Perfect that I didn't realize that Vader does mean father in German. So
Yeah.
it's just it was pretty funny. But no, it's I love the movie. It's a great movie.
I love what you said because you don't. It's almost the opposite. Like with episode 2, everyone thinks, not everyone. Let me correct myself, Holly. I
Please
cannot
do.
have any more Apple reviews saying Mike hates episode 2 too much. I just can't have that. Because
Did you even watch the movie?
Did you watch the movie? I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I missed it. But a majority of people, put it at the bottom of their rankings, and a majority, I think, also put, episode 5 up at the top. But I love hearing that perspective because, it is different, but it makes sense because it is a more, I guess, mature Star Wars film. Like there's themes in there that, like, with Yoda, like talking to Luke and learning his path and the cave, like there's just so many things there that aren't, so transparent, and there's more there to dig your teeth into. So I think that totally makes sense, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's nothing to be like, you should be proud of that. I think that's completely honest, and it's amazing because you're not just jumping on the bandwagon. You're like, it took me some time, and I appreciate it now as I'm older. But yeah, there's other than the AT walkers, there's what's sticking out to the youngsters. I don't know, but I think that's awesome.
And that's really where I was too, because and when I was young, it is a very, very deep movie, and I started watching these when I was 8, and so like episode 1 kind of got everything, or I'm sorry, episode 4 obviously kind of got everything rolling, and then episode 6 was more of the action movie of like the tying the everything together, and so episode 6 always was my favorite. And Jedi was, that was hands down, my favorite movie, and kind of like Revenge of the Sith was hands down my favorite movie, and so like it was, I've always been a part of like the action movies. So once again, as you grow older, you start getting a real appreciation for the story behind.
I love that. Brent, if I recall, your first film was Return of the Jedi, correct?
No, I actually got I did the drive-in with episode 4 about a week before this one was released from theaters. And then, so when I was 4 years old, I got taken to both of them in the span about of a week. And that kind of, it set its hooks in me, like, seriously hard.
That's so yeah. So like, is there anything specifically about Empire? Because you were a youngster then, so you saw it probably. I know before myself, for certain. But like, what about the movie? Was it those walkers? You're just like, what is happening? And shout out to Kirshner and oh God, who wrote the movie? Who wrote the screenplay? Lucas wrote it. Who wrote the screenplay? God, why can't remember his name?
Leia Brackett. Or Leigh Brackett.
Somebody else. And Kasdan too.
Kasdan, yeah.
Yeah. Props to them for coming in with that battle right off the bat, just being like, okay, wow, the rebellion's in deep crap here. But what as a youngster then really stuck out to you?
Probably just everything. Getting the two of them back to back with, you get lightsabers, and then you have all the spaceships, and then you get, everything that's going on is like, I probably didn't fully understand the story, but
yeah,
just being in the theater for the first time as well, and you getting that surround sound experience, and everything's massive on the screen. It's just like, I'm just glad they didn't take me to see Star Trek. It would have been screwed up my whole existence.
We would be in a much different place right now.
I'd be on a different podcast, but
that's actually interesting. I've never even heard of a Star Trek podcast. I'm gonna look it up later.
I'm sure
there's probably a couple of them, but
I'm sure there is.
They're probably not as good as this.
That's right.
That is very kind of you. Thank you, Brent. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Brent. Nenny, how about you, man? We don't talk about Empire much. We talk a lot about the sequels together, but what about this film sticks out to you? Maybe you hate it. Maybe that's why we don't talk about it much.
Yes, I definitely don't hate it. I think in my rankings I usually put it as 1.
Yeah.
And Joey was kind of touching on like that nostalgia vibe. But I couldn't even tell you the first time I watched Empire, so I don't think it's just that. I think kind of everything that's been touched on, like the Battle of Hoth is amazing. The introduction of Yoda, I just love Yoda as a character, and I think that first scene with him and Luke is hilarious. I still laugh at it like I'm a 5-year-old. Maybe I'm just immature, I don't know.
No.
But and then like was touched on the I am your father twist. Like that was, I can't imagine what it would have been like to have like experienced that twist for the first time in theaters. I think that would have been amazing because I mean that's referenced in almost every form of pop culture anymore.
Absolutely.
So it just shows how impactful that was. And then the Luke Vader lightsaber fight is probably my favorite fight in the series. And when I was rewatching the entire series before Rise came out too, I think I got even more out of the film from like Yoda and Luke's conversations, like more of that philosophy and stuff. So it just shows how deep it can go, that like it is a movie for children, but how much is really in there too. So I think that's something pretty special.
It is, and I mean, Star Wars does this all around in every film, but especially this one. Like when we are introduced to these characters, they aren't necessarily what they appear to be. I love that Yoda is just this wacky creature. You're like, what the hell is this thing? And he's this wizened, like, elder Jedi who is so powerful with the Force, and you're just like, what? And I mean, like you said with Vader, it's just like, I mean, Vader, I felt became the lead character of Star Wars in this film. Like it just, in episode 4, but like this one, I mean, Vader was there to stay. And I mean, you bring in the Emperor too. We forget, like, there's where we're introduced to the Emperor, and there's a connection there. We know then there's a master apprentice relationship that he has. He's not the only one in charge here. It just makes things that much more complicated, and it's so crazy that things become so complicated in that film, and then we just are left. I don't know. Clone Wars definitely made us feel defeated at the end of it, but like, so did Empire. Like prospects didn't look good. The Empire Strikes Back, that is the name of the film. So it's just, there's so much there. It made it such a more complex story, and it's in a more mature story. So I love that, especially when brothers and sisters are kissing. Luke, I know this is a hell spoiler.
Major
for
spoiler.
everyone.
What are you trying to say about my sister?
I don't even think I knew Luke had a sister, so this is a spoiler for me. Luke,
not a twin.
I know this movie hits on a lot of our big Star Wars, check boxes. So what about it, man, brings you back to it?
Oh, there's been so many things sort of bubbling up as I'm listening to the rest of the gang, the rest of the council talk. Great stuff. So I'll try not to talk for an hour, but there's a couple things I want to get off my chest. My most enjoyable thing over and over again, no matter how many times I watch this movie, is kind of what Nettie brought up in Yoda's introduction. That first scene, it just makes me smile and laugh and like feel warm joy so much. And just Yoda throughout his appearance in the film, as he gets more serious and he lays down. When we were doing our rankings and talking about our rankings in that episode, I mentioned how this is the movie which really, I think, deepens the philosophy of the Force, and you get so much of it from Yoda.
Yeah.
So that's super powerful stuff. And I'm going to take us down a little my origin story of the movie on a slightly tangential path, but still related. If you listen to episode 2 of Flying Casual, you get my origin story for Star Wars, which goes back to a VHS garage sale copy of A New Hope. And I got that in the mid-90s that my mom picked up for me. And that's all I had for several years. I didn't see any of the other films for several years. And no one, it was, the dark period of the 90s, so there weren't like a bunch of kids on the playground talking Star Wars all the time. So I thought it was just this thing that I watched at home on my VHS tape over and over again. And then I met some people a few years later who were into Star Wars and had the VHS copies. I think by that time the special edition had come out, and had the VHS of the special edition, and was like, hey, there's 2 more movies. And I was like, what? So unfortunately, I don't vividly remember the first time I watched Empire. I know it was with my friend Jeff, because he's the one who had, the rest of the trilogy. I think I saw both of Empire and Return of the Jedi at his house on his copies.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really sticks out in my mind, I think helped cement my interest in the movie, is the Battle of Hoth via the Shadows of the Empire game on 64.
Ooh.
Because that timeline of that, the story for that game, the story for that book, and everything kind of jump off from the Battle of Hoth, and that first level on N64 Shadows of the Empire, when you get to fly the snowspeeder against the AT-ATs. Oh yeah,
There it is.
Plug that son of a bitch in.
Yeah, I played through the whole game, but just over and over again, I would play that first level, and I'd finish it, and then I'd play it again. I just loved flying the snowspeeder. So I think that was probably my first like love of something from Empire, was the Battle of Hoth. It sort of spurned and fueled by that game, and then it probably, like, a lot of the other folks were saying, took more time to get into the really deeper part of it, the more mature aspects of it, dealing with the Force, dealing with the whole storyline gets so much more complex with the introduction of the Emperor. That scene, like, every time I rewatch it, that scene where Vader and the Emperor talk, I pay super close attention to that, because that seems like such a so there's a lot going on there, and the comic lines have done a lot to expand on sort of the tension and the difference in motives for the Emperor and Vader. So I think, like, as you're reading these comics, then you watch that scene again, like it adds to it. So I'll shut up for a minute.
No, it's such a tease. Like, just we don't see the Emperor often, and it's interesting now because the newer releases, especially on Disney Plus, it's now Ian McDiarmid, right? Like, it's his portrayal of the Emperor, so it connects it a lot more. Because the Emperor we had there, I mean, props to the actor. We did what we did then. It was cool, but like, looks a little strange, looks a little creepy. I mean, the Emperor's creepy, let's be honest. But yeah, it was a nice tease, and wow, we don't know much about this character. There's much more story to come. And why is Vader, this powerful character, bowing down to this individual? Wow, they must be extremely powerful. So that's, you're absolutely right. Something else about Empire, in all the movies really, but Empire especially, I come back to years later and years after I'd seen it for the first time. Like, we talk about the Battle of Hoth. Like, there's one comment, I don't remember what Vader says exactly, but he damns whoever, popped out of light speed too soon and warned the rebellion. It's like a little nugget of information. You're just like, how did they escape so quickly? It's like, that's how. And you don't really pick up. Yeah, yes. Like, you don't pick up on these little details, and those are things that I miss even over the years, just because I was like taken aback by what was happening. So there's some sweaty details in there that you can dig into once you come back to them, and that's why Star Wars just keeps on giving. It's the complexities of the story, but there's little nuggets too, and they build off of them. Like Luke said, in the comic books, like, man, the Emperor's actually out there doing a lot of crazy crap, and he's keeping Vader, at arm's length, but he's got other plans as well, and Vader doesn't trust him, which you'll learn in the Vader lines once you guys finish those. Lot of good stuff going on, but
it's pretty cool too, because you almost wonder if that was something that George had planned from the very, very beginning, that there is this tension, or if that's something that evolved over the years. You know what I mean? Of like, we're going to continue telling the story, and then, hey, this kind of, you start to see things that weren't intended to be there, but then you realize that it was like just really well done. And then you're like, oh, hey, you start to see things that you didn't learn from your first 12, 20, 30 rewatches. And then, as you start thinking about things, you're like, oh, hey, this kind of like plays into this. And, was it an all cohesive story from the very beginning, or is that something that, evolved over the years as we continued to learn, the backstory and things like that?
Well, and that's a lot of credit to the writers, right? Like Timothy Zahn and them, who expanded upon that story. And you got Prince Sizor, as like an operator, and these other people that the Emperor, had doing other things. And I think there's a story I don't even know what it is. Was it a story, like a competition almost, to find Luke Skywalker? I can't even remember the whole story, but so it may not even have been George, because I don't think George had a whole lot of say. Just kind of said, man, they can write these stories, whatever. It's not my Star Wars. But yeah, so you're right. It's expanded, and that's great. There's more storytellers kind of adding to that, and Disney's kind of picked up with that kind of theme and ran with it, especially in the comics, and a little bit in the novels. But Holly, I know it's not your favorite movie. It's up there.
Yes, Brent reminded me that episode 9.
Episode 9's up there.
Was my favorite.
So when I force you to sit and watch episode 5, what about the film, sticks out to you? What maybe makes it not up there at your top? Like, are you more of an action guy, like Jory, or is there stuff that you really? I mean, they stepped up their lightsaber game, though. Can we all agree? Mark Hamill and Vader, they stepped it up, and that cinematography. My favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in all Star Wars. What was it?
I'm definitely not more of an action guy.
You know what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm not a big action movie fan, although I did watch Extraction. That was good.
Ooh, wait, that's the not Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
Oh, the handsome guy, Chris Hemsworth. Yeah.
But anyway, no, I'm not like a big action person. I don't seek out action movies. I'm not really interested in explosions and things like that. But I think that I've talked about this on a couple episodes before, but I know that the I Am Your Father moment was kind of spoiled for me because I did not see episode 4 before I saw the prequels and all that stuff, and I was kind of late to the Star Wars game, but definitely Hoth, all the Hoth moments were 100% my favorite, especially growing up on the East Coast with the nor'easters that we'd get, and it would snow from I don't know, October to May, and my brother and I would just be out there. My grandpa had a tractor, and he'd plow all the snow. My brother and I would be out there digging these tunnels through all these 8-foot tall snow piles. In retrospect, that's not a good idea, but
just wrapping grappling hooks around your brother, and you're like, I got him, he's the walker.
Pulling out. Yeah, I don't know. So I think the Hoth stuff was really fun.
On milk as a child and where?
It was actually one of my favorites.
What color is Tauntaun milk?
Pink.
Holy
I don't
cow!
know.
That's a spoiler.
No,
is that a Galaxy Edge? I don't know. Yeah, that's somebody.
Doesn't that seem legit?
I think it could. Yeah. There's blue and green. So who the hell? I mean, it could be whatever. Purple.
Now we're in the cotton candy spectrum, and I don't that.
Great point.
But I don't know. I think it was really the Hoth, and then I kind of feel like I'm just echoing what everyone else said, but for some reason, Yoda's laugh when so good. I know, when him and Luke are having their first conversation and Luke keeps telling him who he's looking for, and Yoda just starts laughing, and I'm it's creepy, but it's also awesome.
Yeah, because it's just because he just knows that Luke is just judging him and just I don't know. It's such a great moment. One of my favorite moments, I have so many, but is when Luke and Yoda are training together. And I'm so glad now Hasbro, it has, a dedicated release from the Black Series for this moment, where he's got Yoda on his back and he's just is the dark side stronger? No, of course not. Yes, it is, Yoda. Stop lying to Luke. This is why people go down dark paths, because we're not honest with them. Can we all agree? I mean, there's a lot of secrecy here with the Jedi Masters. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
I mean, Jesus, the Anakins are damned because you withhold information from them. Can we be honest about that?
When you cut out half of the emotions you're tapping into, then you're at half power, right?
Except for Qui-Gon.
Yes. Well, yeah. That's a whole discussion. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about that too. But you're right, and I don't know. I like that we're picking up on the failure of the Jedi more now. I know the prequels, you can kind of see it, but I mean, no one back then was really saying, man, the Jedi were really a bunch of assholes. No one was really saying that. The Emperor deceived them, this and that. But it's no, man. They made a lot of mistakes, and that's where the sequel trilogy for me really comes in. And you got Luke, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but not our Luke, but the Luke Skywalker they saw. I know they didn't like that, but it felt real, man. It felt real. But Empire, focus on Empire. Other characters, I mean, Lando. I always forget we get introduced to Lando in this movie, and he's once again a character on the face. Isn't really what he seems either. Is anyone a big Lando fan here? I mean, he's awesome. But anyone one of their favorite characters? No,
That's funny.
Silence. That's cool. That's cool.
Not the favorite, but I mean, they're all great. I mean, we get introduced to all the bounty hunters. We get IG-88, Bosk, Forlom.
You're absolutely right.
That whole crew of everything, Boba Fett. I mean,
yeah.
And so many different locations. You get the space slug and the little asteroid, and the whole movie is just awesome.
Yeah,
it is.
It's funny. I don't think that I really appreciated Lando's character in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I really appreciated Lando until I saw Solo, which is funny because then Paige actually texted me last night and was like, she watched Solo for the first time ever last night, and she was
What
like,
took her so long?
right?
know.
You have to ask her.
Know.
And she'll probably text me now, like, why are you talking about me like this?
I know you're talking about me.
But she was like, I think I need more Lando content. And I was like, I mean, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
That's, Childish himself, bringing Lando
to life.
A little more, even more swag.
Yeah.
And
like you're young.
Yeah, there's a lot of story there to be told. I mean, yeah, Lando has all of his expanded universe stories. That's cool. But I think people would pay to see it. I think that Lando was a big favorite in that movie. So, what's that, Luke?
I think what's interesting about his character is sort of the up and down of it. You're introduced to him. There's the tension with Han, where he's kind of messing around and joking with him.
Yep.
And then you're led to believe, oh, he's a good guy. He welcomes him in, lets him, get settled in a nice little apartment or whatever. They're hanging out in.
Yeah. What's
he's
like the suite?
Yeah, he gives him a nice suite, the penthouse suite there in the Cloud City. You're like, hey, this is a good guy.
Yeah.
Then he turns him over to Vader, and you're like, oh, this guy sucks. What's the deal? And then he turns it back around and again and helps them escape. So I think I can't really think of another character that you're introduced to and your kind of emotions about them go on that little roller coaster ride in the first 20 minutes that you're introduced to them like that. So I think that's one of the interesting parts. And one of the fun parts to me is just, and I love the way they played with this in Solo, is his pronunciation of Han, which
good.
It's Han Solo in A New Hope. And that's the way Harrison Ford says it when he's saying, I'm Han Solo. And then all of a sudden Lando appears and he calls him Han. And then I don't know if it was unintentional or just Billy D's influence on the other actors. There's whole scenes where Anthony Daniels is C-3PO, Carrie Fisher is Leia, say Han too in his presence, and then all the other times in other scenes those characters say Han. So that's just one of the funny things about George Lucas always says Hoth instead of Hoth. So all these little funny pronunciation things, but that's inside the movie, whereas the Hoth thing is just George outside of the movie. And then the way they played with it that in Solo that always makes me smile and I appreciate so much is when he gets introduced to Lando in Solo, he starts calling him Han, and Han corrects him and say, no, it's Han. And then they flip it around too later on the pronunciation of Sabak versus Sabak. And Han I think says it's Sabak, which would be the same type of A that is in Han.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Lando says, no, it's Sabak. So he knows the long array that would be Han, but he's purposely not saying it the way that Han wants it said. So I thought that was just a brilliant sort of unintentional joke of Lando's character brought around in Solo in a really fun way.
Yeah, I think the only other comparable character that we see with those big swings up and down, I like you, oh, I don't trust you, would be Hondo in Rebels, because I feel like I kind of go on that same roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but other than that, Luke, I think you're right. I feel like we have pretty good judgment about all the other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a little bit of it with DJ in Last Jedi too,
Yep.
which that's one thing I like in Last Jedi because it's kind of a callback to Lando. But I mean, I made my feelings on The Last Jedi known many times.
No, it's I don't know, guys. It's a great film. I don't know. It's the best. It's just like Nettie said. It changed cinema. I mean, it's that the scene, Vader and Luke, I'm your father. Game changing. It's just game changing. And I would love to be in George's head. What did George plan out like that. As far as Mark Hamill tells us, like that wasn't a thing. That was kept either secret or, you know, things were changed later on, or, I mean, he didn't even know his, you know, they changed his name last minute. So they filmed all this stuff, him saying Star Killer, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we got to fill this out with Skywalker. We got to shoot it again. So it's like, yeah, how much of this did he have planned? Or, you know, is he just writing as he goes along? And wow, there's a nice twist. It's just genius storytelling. But, what else, guys? What
I
else?
don't remember exactly where I heard this, and from what I remember though is that originally it was supposed to be Obi-Wan killed your father, and then I wanted to say that even before that, in original rights was Obi-Wan is your father. So I mean, like there was like so many different things that I don't even know if George really had the whole, you know. And those all could be false, and I don't, you know, once again, it's speculation here and there or whatever, but that you know, it just seemed like he was really kind of figuring out the story as he went, and then, you know, when it was all put together, it was put together so perfectly, you know, like, and he really figured it out, like, okay, hey, this is, you know, this is going to work, and, you know, and I think it's just beautifully, you know, however his process was, you know, he made the right decision in the end.
And let's talk about that. Like, okay, Vader says Obi-Wan killed your father. Where we go, did he? You know, is that just Vader planting a seed of, you can't trust this guy. You can trust me, though. And this Emperor guy, he's a real dick. You can take him down. Like, is that where we were going? Or, you know, old Obi-Wan coming out there, could he have killed his father? Like where would that have gone? The story would be so different. I think they made the right call.
And did they play with that with the prequels? You know, being that Obi-Wan, you know, with him not training him the way that, you know, he should have been trained, things like that, you know, and in that deeper storytelling of, you know, Obi-Wan wasn't ready, and, you know, and once you start getting to some of the comics and even the novels of, you know, getting the backstory of Obi-Wan and his true feelings for Anakin at first, and then, you know, and then how he grew to love him as a brother, but really wasn't that father, you know, that he needed, or the master that he needed, you know, and did Obi-Wan over time eventually kill Anakin, you know, and lead to the rise of Darth Vader? Like, I think that there's so much to unpack with that.
Yeah, I remember from watching the all the special editions or whatever. It was originally set up, I think it was, I don't know if it was planned by Lucas or if it was something that Kasdan and Brackett brought up when they wrote Empire or whatever and kind of threw that twist in. But I know he had to say it on set to keep the secret. And, you know, because I remember watching some documentary where, you know, everyone was kind of like, this reaction's a little overblown to what was just said on set and whatever. Because when they watch it in theater, then when the actual dialogue comes in, then, you know, it makes much more sense as to Hamill's reaction to it. But I know everyone was kind of like, he's a little overboard with his reaction here. It's just like, yeah, whatever, he killed his father, no big deal. But then you watch it in context, it's like, oh, that makes much more sense. And, you know, and he played it perfectly. So, you know, it's hard to, a lot of Star Wars, you know, it's going to be hard to tell what was actually meant and what, you know, transpired as you kind of went and manipulated the story, and it evolved over time. You know, it's from Sky Killer to Skywalker and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. God, I can't imagine, hearing that reaction, be like, yeah, like you said, that you killed your father. Okay, let's move on. That's hysterical to think about it that way now. Jory, what you were saying, I'm gonna pull an audible here, guys. So we are gonna talk about, you know, Mandalorian season 2. What do we expect? But I want to pull an audible and bring in, you know, I think most of us here have seen the Disney Gallery episode where Dave Filoni talks about the Duel of Fates. And there was some, I don't want to call it controversy, but drama in the Star Wars community with, you know, some people who are calling out others for saying, yeah, you didn't know, you know, that the whole Duel of Fates was about, you know, Anakin's fate, and, you know, Qui-Gon could be more of a father figure to him and Obi-Wan isn't, and it's all about his destiny. And yeah, I think most of us generally understand that, but to me, hearing him explain things like that, and just even referencing the Duel of Fates, like which path is he going down? It kind of opened up my eyes. I wasn't like completely blown away, but to hear him put it that way, it just, I don't know, it was interesting. How did you guys respond to that? Maybe you're not even aware of all that drama that happened. I know Star Wars Theory got a lot of hate, and while I don't always agree with the man on everything, I think, he's just saying, hey, this opened my eyes a little bit to things, and had a lot of people giving him crap, and I thought it was stupid, and then it blew out of proportion, just like social media does, and Twitter's all drama. So what did you guys think of that? I know we had a conversation about it on a podcast, but what did you guys think? Nettie, did any of that resonate with you?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch the episode yet, but I did listen to the podcast, what was talked about, and I mean, I thought your guys' conversation was really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I don't understand why there would be backlash, but again, that's kind of part of the Star Wars community, unfortunately.
It is, and it just, I'm not going to go on a rant because I won't stop. But it just pisses me off when people don't celebrate people looking at Star Wars differently or understanding things more or looking at things in different contexts. It makes me mad. Like, it pisses me off. Why are you ruining someone's experience? Aren't we supposed to be celebrating their experience and like wanting people to contribute to the fandom more? Like, why are we pushing people away because they see something differently, or I never picked up on that? And you're like, well, you're not a Star Wars fan, or you're an idiot. You don't understand themes and movies. It's like, why do we have to do that? Luke, I know you're passionate about the subject. What did you think, my friend? You saw the gallery. We both, I think, were a little blown away by the response.
Yeah, what struck me was just how beautifully Dave laid it out, and this is what I kind of talked about when we discussed it earlier. Was it's all there, but you can know something really well, but when somebody summarizes it in a clear and sort of like beautiful way, it just hits you that much more powerfully. And so that's why I think it was. I don't think it's ridiculous for people to say, "Oh, you didn't realize this stuff." Like a lot of people understood the ideas and the theme of the father relationship throughout. And George and so many Star Wars fans have always talked about how this is a family saga. This is a Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
So a ton of people knew it was there, and I think you're right that bashing on people for loving it so much as if they didn't understand the stuff previously. Like, no, that's not what's to love. To love it is just how, like I said, how beautifully it was laid out, and the fact that it wasn't just some dude like any of us on a podcast somewhere out in the middle of wherever who could understand and comprehend Star Wars in that way. It was a person who's creating it and is one of the lead creators of Star Wars. So it just is this like comforting blanket to put on yourself, knowing that Filoni understands it and can communicate it in that way, to know you're in good hands with the stories he's going to be working on in the future.
Yeah, he understands it. He can easily explain it to us in a way it's never really been explained. Because, like, I don't know, sometimes when George talks about the story and what's going on there, I know it's just him, but he seems annoyed sometimes. So he does this and just kind of blows through it, right, in kind of a monotone way. But like, there's something about Filoni who sometimes I think he looks like George, and I'm like, holy shit, is he just like becoming George Lucas? Like, it's just very strange. But like the way he kind of like, I don't know how it's affected him and getting to work with George and how much he loves the story, it really comes out. And I get it's different because you have the creator and then a fan who is now creating Star Wars content. It's very different, but it's just I don't think has put it in such a way where it's affected us so much, because George, it's kind of his story. And as much as he, wanted to make money off of it and share it, it's also very private to him. And he's not the most, personable person. So, but to me, when I hear Duel of Fates now, I think of the epic fight scene between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon. Like, that's what I think of. I don't think of Anakin's fate. Brent, did you get into the drama at all? I mean, were you there, hitting people up on Twitter, telling what's up, or are you familiar with it at all?
I'm familiar with it, but I don't get into the whole tweet adventures or anything like that.
That's good.
But I mean, the Duel of the Fates, I always considered it just, the battle between light and dark. But to put it in the context of this is going to decide Anakin's fate in the future, that was just like, holy shit, it puts a totally different spin on the whole thing. I always looked at it as, there was, Darth Maul he's got this double-sided blade or whatever, and that was so he could balance the 2 Jedi he had to face at the time or whatever. So, it created the balance within the lightsabers within the Force, and there's that whole duel that's going on, and, and from that aspect. But yeah, you start saying, well, had Darth Maul lost initially instead of to Obi-Wan, but to Qui-Gon, that if Qui-Gon was there, then Anakin would never have gone to the dark side in the first place. And that implication, that was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that totally changes the entire prequels and that entire setup. And then when you get into the Master and Apprentice book and you get all that tie-in with the prophecies and how Qui-Gon's actually tied into it because, he's one of the prophecies and how he discovers it and everything like that. And it's just like, it just makes the whole storytelling just kind of pull itself back together or whatever. And then, whether that was something that Lucas had entertained when he actually did this, or if that was just something that's come about after the fact and the interpretation of it from Filoni, I don't know, but it's awesome.
God, to think about Qui-Gon believing in this prophecy so much and feeling something from this kid, not realizing how much his destiny was going to play into his future. I mean, because to him, I'll take him to the Jedi Council. He'll be trained and he'll balance the Force. And they're like, no. And he's like, oh crap! Like this is on me. This is on me now. I got to make sure this happens. And then he obviously fails. I'm not going to blame his whole fall on Qui-Gon. I think that's unfair. But Jory, how about you, man? Are you digging into that at all? I don't even know if you have a Twitter, so maybe you weren't aware this was going on. But what did you?
I do. And I don't know if I could have said it any more better than Brent just said it, because that's exactly what I thought Duel of the Fates meant. I never really thought of it in the way, and and maybe I'll get backlash, and that's fine. But like I didn't like, and when he announced that, it was just like, to me, and maybe everybody else thought that way, but I did not. I never really thought of it in a way of, this is deciding Anakin's fate. And, in hindsight, it's always 2020 and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense now. But, just like Brent just said, I always thought it was, along the lines of, you have 2 Jedi, you have 1 Sith, he's got a double-bladed lightsaber, and like exactly what he just said, and see, it just never really rang out to me, and I've dug deep into some lore and stuff too, and it just like, I don't know how I missed that, and how everything came out, but like I said, Brent just said everything that I needed to say.
Absolutely. Holly, I recall myself going down the rabbit hole that is, I mean, Twitter in general, but this particular discussion, and I just recall you saying, why are you even bothering? But what did you think about all of it? I know you didn't dig into it as much as me, but like when you see people slamming people for appreciating something a little more, how did it make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel like
pissed off.
No, well, I don't know. It just makes me feel like everyone needs to calm down. I don't know. I think that sometimes people forget that your interpretation of something that you're reading or something that you're watching, I mean, is also relevant to your experience. And I think that, some people have a hard time digging into a deeper meaning that a creator of some content may have like put subtle hints in about. And I think that that's fine, because I don't think that you're ever going to know something better than the person who created it or the person who's taken over creating it. But I also don't think that anyone's interpretation of what the Duel of Fates meant is incorrect. And so I think that everyone's correct. I think that it's all relevant to how you experience that movie and how you're experiencing like what that actual battle meant or what the outcome of that would have been.
Preach.
But
get up on that pulpit.
I could talk about that for a long time, but
I know, and I don't want you to stop.
I just think that everyone kind of needs to grow up and be a little bit more respectful of other people's opinions when it comes to this. And I know people are like, oh, it's just the internet, why are you so upset about it? But just like, don't be a dick.
And it's the internet is such a huge form of communication with others, and I feel like the internet more than anything affects people and the way they're interacting with others more so than having a conversation in general, because sometimes people will be brutally honest or maybe harsh more so.
Also, I think that a lot of Star Wars fans want to be right about things, and so I think that when they hear something new, I guarantee that some of the people who are like, "Oh, you didn't know that," were like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah.
And then they wanted to be like, Psh, "I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so obviously I knew that, and if you guys didn't, like, you're not real fans."
Yeah.
When really they didn't.
Yeah.
I think that certain fans just have a tendency of wanting to be like, "I knew this all along. I'm so smart." But...
Well, and that's the thing is, the fandom has a big problem. It does, and it's not The Last Jedi. It's not. The Last Jedi was the catalyst for folks who want to, spit BS at people. That was the catalyst for them to come out of their shell and do that. But it's a problem, and people do need to grow up. They do, and just let people appreciate something for what it is and how they see it, and that's okay. And we don't need to make them feel worse for that. We should be encouraging it, especially in this community that is supposed to be so inclusive and hopeful and all these positive things that we talk about all the time. For there to be such a vicious part of that community that doesn't encourage that, it's just baffling, because that's what the product is all about. It's I don't know, it's baffling.
And also, if Dave Filoni says, "Hey, this is actually what this meant," and then you're just like, "Oh, cool." Yeah. That's really cool that got cleared up for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Who is that?
Is that
Elton John or?
That's the Beatles.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't envy you guys as content creators, because you're kind of forced to go down those rabbit holes at times. Yeah. So you have something to talk about and be able to like keep up to stuff, whatever. Because I remember when the Colin Trevorrow script came out. Yeah. And that was the whole big thing that was going on. Is like, you know what? I look at it as fan fiction. It never even made it to the expanded universe stage because it never got published. So at that point, it's fan fiction. It may be really good fan fiction, but to me, that's all it is. So I just ignored it. And
Absolutely.
It's like, it doesn't impact me at all. And, kind of sticking on that whole train. If there was nothing in there, and, this goes back to JJ's initial plan with Force Awakens and Rey's Palpatine heritage. Yeah. Where, his script apparently didn't touch on that at all. And maybe because it didn't is why he got axed from the whole project. It's like, well, she's a Palpatine. It's like, well, but you didn't touch on that. It's like, well, okay, out. Next. And, that could have been all it came down to. It's like, well, you totally ignored everything we set up. It's like, how could you do this? And, and it may have been as simple as that. And, we'll never know. But
exactly. That's the thing. We'll never know. The people think they know. But then they may be right, they may be wrong, but we're never going to really know how things went. And that's okay. But like you said, I look at it too. We didn't even touch on it much. The thing that I thought was very odd was what was his name? Isn't it Thor Valum? What was his name? I don't even recall. The spider guy.
The freaky spider thing?
Valum, yeah. I thought that was a little odd. I think that was probably the only thing we critiqued about the whole. We didn't even read the script. It was just, I was just like, wait, what? This guy on the baby doll head? It was weird. It was weird.
It's like something out of Toy Story. I think that's what we said.
Oh my God, yes. It absolutely was straight out of Toy Story. Oh my God. Whoever made that artwork was a big Toy Story fan.
Or James and the Giant Peach. There's something weird in that movie like that.
I don't know if I've seen it.
Toy Story was boosting most of the stuff from Star Wars anyway, so.
I mean, yeah.
True. Very true. See, it affects everything. I just want to know.
We really do need to switch up our slogan for Flying Casual. Just Flying Casual, don't be a dick. I think Holly said it great.
Seriously, like we've been saying that since day one of this podcast. It's just like,
don't be a dick.
Yeah, and Brett's right. Sometimes we go down those rabbit holes to see kind of what's going on, and I lose interest so fast because I just enjoy more so talking about what I enjoy about the movies more than any drama or news that's happening.
Yeah, but sometimes Michael's going down the rabbit hole and I just hear, what?
What?
You would not believe what
people actually
oh my God,
say
he
this?
wrote that?
I cannot. I because I don't understand Twitter. Probably as much as you guys. It's just not a strength of mine. And people are just extremely mean on there a lot of the times. So it's not the best platform for
let's
positivity.
call it what it is, and that's a nightmare.
It is a
Just
nightmare.
not good.
It's tough to navigate through, but maybe I'll get better with it. Just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that because it just kind of felt like it came up organically, so that is fantastic. But guys, supposedly The Mandalorian season 2 is on track, regardless that we're in a pandemic, regardless of there's a lot of things going on in our society right now. Apparently, in October, we are getting The Mandalorian season 2. Thank goodness they filmed the damn thing before all this went down. So apparently we're in post-production. I think Dave Filoni said that himself on an interview I saw. So we also have had a lot of not character reveals, but castings. We've talked
Can I
about.
go back to Empire real quick before we move on?
No, please do.
Okay. So the whole Han shot first thing I thought was
gosh.
settled in 1980 when he walked into the room for dinner and Darth Vader's standing there. What did he do? He pulls out his blaster and he fires off 3 rounds before he says anything. He doesn't look at Lando. He says that afterwards. Han shoots first. Always.
You're absolutely right.
So I don't know why Lucas ever went back and changed something. Yeah. It was settled in 1980. Everything's handled. And I mean,
Vader was just asking him to join him for dinner. And you pull a blaster on him? I mean, you don't even know the guy.
You're there with his daughter, but he didn't know that.
He didn't know that at all. Yeah.
The fine details.
Either of them knew that.
Now? Yeah, no, you're right, man. Why do we... That was settled. You're absolutely right.
So we learned we just don't invite Han Solo to dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to get shot by his blaster.
Well, you just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, Han, and he does it well. And that's sometimes why we love him, but it's in a more lovable way.
You said he does being a dick well.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does, but it's in a more lovable Harrison Ford way.
Sure.
Harrison Ford, seriously, he is forgiven for a lot just because he's Harrison Ford, and that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So we've had a lot of castings, guys. I think most of them we believe. But what was interesting is Timothy Oliphant. Nailed it. Thank you, Holly. People. I saw some speculation about him coming in as Cad Bane, which I thought was kind of interesting. I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but I was like, wow, that could be cool. Now we're hearing he potentially could be Cobb Vanth, who is, if I recall, the self-proclaimed sheriff of a town in Tatooine. Luke, am I correct in that?
Yeah, you are right. That is part of some of the interludes of the Aftermath series. You get a little side story of Cobb Vanth's adventures on Tatooine as kind of a vigilante justice man who obtained Boba Fett's armor after it was sort of recovered from the Sarlacc somehow. Yeah. So
we have that. Nettie, is it possible then? I mean, we heard. Okay, what's the individual's name who played Jango Fett? I'm forgetting his name. Timothy. Nope, not Timothy.
Tamira Morrison.
Tamira Morrison. Damn it. I was going to say Bueller, but you're right. Nailed it. Casted. Everyone's like, Boba Fett. He's going to be Boba Fett. Okay, cool. Well, now we hear that Timothy Oliphant was seen wearing Boba Fett's armor. So could it possibly be that maybe misinterpreted? The leak was misinterpreted? Maybe it was misinterpreted, and maybe we're going to get some Rex. Nettie, are you looking at those leaks? What do you think, my friend? What are we going to get out of these characters? Or could we get Rex?
See, I haven't read any of the leak articles. I try and avoid stuff as much. No, I've seen them. I've seen them still posted. I just don't read the full article usually. But and I mean, I am awful with actors and actresses, so I don't know some of the people anyway. But I feel like if we're gonna get Ahsoka, which is heavily rumored too, I can't believe it when it be Rex.
Yeah.
I forget, is he in that scene in Rebels too, like that post scene? I know it's Sabine and Ahsoka. I can't remember if Rex is there too.
I don't think
not with them, but he's on.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. So I figure, war's over. I could see him hooking back up and going along with Ahsoka on adventures. But I mean, I wasn't expecting a baby Yoda, so I don't really try and expect anything too much.
No, you're absolutely right, and here's maybe a spoiler for you guys here. A few hours ago, some of the bigger media outlets are saying that they're looking for a live action casting for Ezra Bridger.
I'm sorry?
Spoiler for Holly.
I didn't hear this.
Well, that's because you don't read the news. But I don't take it for what it is. You know, if Screen Rant's saying it, I'm buying it. So are we casting for other projects? God, I hope so, because I feel like Mandalorian's going to get real complicated here, and I don't want to necessarily take away so much of the story. I feel like it's maybe going somewhere else. I think maybe we dedicate those resources to another series, maybe Sabine and Ahsoka going on a mission of their own.
I mean, we've already speculated that, but I'll speculate again.
I mean,
we'll have a re-speculation.
Maybe there's just, I don't know. They do these sometimes in television. They just cross stories. You know, I see Chicago PD, picking up with Chicago Fire. No one watches those.
The New Girl and
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all these cross series.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, that actually was a really fun episode. So maybe we'll see, some play into that. Would actually be kind of cool, because I can see that kind of happening. Marvel does that really well with their television series and their movies. So maybe we do a little something like that. And I don't necessarily think we need Rex being in all of The Mandalorian, but maybe there's an episode where he is. That's cool. Jory, are you reading any of this Mandalorian 2 stuff? Are you buying it, or are we just getting the Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, and Bo-Katan apparently just out, finding the Jedi or the whatever? What are we gonna get? What do you want?
Well, you said Screen Rant says it and you buy it. Well, Mike Zero says it and I buy it. So
put the money on the table.
But no, I just think that there's so much speculation at this point. It's hard to say
hard.
As to what's really going to come in. I firmly believe that all of these characters really can't come in. I mean, I feel like it'd just be so much crossover that it almost would take away from the Mando. But I think that definitely, we're going to see something. Yeah. We're definitely going to see some sort of crossover. But, to get Boba Fett, Rex, Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger, and then not Cad Bane, but the other guy,
Van. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, to get all of those into one season, I feel like it would be a lot. And don't get me wrong. I mean, very well it could be, but I just feel like it would be a lot to try and cram into 8 episodes to be like, okay, this is this character, this is what's going on with them, and then it would almost take away from the full story. But I mean, I think that it's all really cool because I love speculation. Like, it's one of my favorite parts of it anyway. So
yeah.
It's really hard to say at this point. I think that Ahsoka would be amazing to have, and I think that that definitely could happen. And then introduce these and then branch off into something else. But at this point, it's so hard to tell what's actually coming.
Oh,
phrasing.
So much phrasing, Jory.
All
it
around.
was just the whole comment itself that was just littered with phrasing, and I love it. So many comings, so many goings. I love it. You're right, and I mean there's other projects too. Like there's a Taika Waititi movie coming out, like a feature film that they're going to be producing. So there's so much to be told, but go. Okay.
Back to the crossover idea, because I'm not done with that.
Love it.
I think that this is just me pretending to believe that they are doing a casting for an Ezra Bridger.
Yep.
I think that there is a way that they could kind of put all of these characters in the season, just not have them be a big part of that episode. Yeah. Like, I don't know, we're in a cantina and Ezra Bridger sitting in the back or something. And like, they're not part of that episode fully, but then that kind of gives you, I'm kind of inclined to believe at some point then we're going to have that scene again in a different series that is about Ezra Bridger.
Oh, I'd love that.
Like, so you kind of
different
get that
perspectives.
Yes, exactly.
Like Twilight. like they're doing with Twilight
Nothing
right now.
like that.
Nothing like that. Okay.
But
okay.
it is like Luke told me about when we were reading Leia, and how there's that one scene at the ball that's also in the other novel. And so it's kind of like, I mean, Star Wars does some crossovers like that, just maybe not so much in the TV show realm because this is so new.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that then maybe that could be doable.
Yeah, you get some of the, I don't know. The comics we see coming out of that backstory, you know, like you said, not the bigger material, but the comics do it well. But you're right. I think it's television. Let's do it. Let's have Sabine and Ahsoka out there, and they run into the Mandalorian like, who the hell are you? And who the hell are you? I'm looking for the Jedi. Oh, we're looking for a Jedi too, and he just went to the unknown regions. Maybe he can help us. Maybe we team up, and he knows more than we do about the Jedi, so maybe he can help. It's like,
now, if they do this, Holly, I firmly believe that Star Wars is in a very, very good direction. You know, even if you put, you know, just, you know, like you said, you have an Ezra Bridger sitting in the background, and, you know, he's there for 5 seconds, 10 seconds of an episode, and then, you know, it cuts to, or I mean, later on we get an Ezra Bridger, you know, a whole series about him. Then you're like, okay, this is like, you know, Star Wars is Marvel now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have that real, you know, continuity, and like, hey, we're gonna tell this big story now, and if they do that, I will be really, really happy with the direction that Star Wars is going.
Yeah, because that model works, and people really like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun to have those teasers in there, but I also agree, Jory, that we shouldn't be kind of muddying up like the Mandalorian and that storyline. And so I think that would be a really good way for them to kind of give a teaser, but not take away from the Mandalorian story.
Also, don't forget, the Darksaber is now in play. As little as it was in the series, it's now in play, and it's like, okay, are we going back to, like, you know, Mandalorian, like reviving Mandalore like we were seeing in Rebels? Like, Luke, are we gonna get more of that story again? I don't think Sabine's gonna take up the mantle. She already kind of said, you know, someone else needs to do this, not me. What are you expecting? Is it going to be very Darksaber heavy? Could we have Ahsoka in all of the series, or maybe an episode?
I feel a lot of the, I think, hesitation that Jory was laying down earlier about saying, like, it's a lot. The rumors are a lot of characters and storylines to squeeze into presumably another 8-episode season. Yeah. So the initial reaction is like, is this too much?
Yeah.
At the same time, we always sort of cry out for more connectivity in the various media of Star Wars that we consume. And, you know, sometimes you read a Star Wars novel and it's fun, but it doesn't connect really well to some of the films or some of the TV series and things like that. And you're like, oh, I was a little disappointed it didn't connect more. Like, okay, it's side story. I'm in the middle of Crash of Fate, which is one of the novels based around the launch of Galaxy's Edge at you know, Disney World and Disneyland. That takes place on Batuu, and it's like a fun story so far, but so far it doesn't really connect with much. So that's one of those. So, you know, we crave that, but at the same time, like, you don't want to do it heavy-handed and in this like clumsy way. And they really stayed away from that with the first season of Mandalorian. You get a lot of the themes of Star Wars and the visuals of Star Wars, but it was like new characters and new storylines in a world that felt familiar to us. And then, like you said, that they throw the Darksaber in that last episode. Yeah. And that's like this huge signal. And the conversation that the Mandalorian has with the armorer at the end about what he needs to do with Baby Yoda next, Harry Cover, that, you know, set the table for a season 2 that is going to be much more about the connective tissue of all the other parts of Star Wars lore. And that's why we're getting all these reveals of characters that are going to be popping in here and creating potential spin-offs. And it would worry me a lot more if again Filoni wasn't involved, because I think he's the linchpin, the fulcrum if you will.
Oh,
if you prefer
come
that
on.
term.
Wow.
Let's go.
The way that
Linchpin is the other code. I hope so.
Yeah.
That's a
Luke's
great
code
name.
name.
Settled. It's
the
settled.
way that Rebels and Clone Wars, connect in nice ways, and the way that he just seems to be so in tune with the storytelling of Star Wars, I think it makes me less nervous. Like Jory said, it's a lot of characters, but I think a lot of them will be relatively minor parts, but creating that potential for the Marvel like kind of spin-offs.
There's some big name actors in some of these episodes that, I just love Bill Burr and I reference him all the time, but it's like I didn't expect Bill Burr to be in half the season, but like he was in an episode and it was a meaningful episode and it was cool and I didn't need any more Bill Burr after that. It's like, okay, Bill, that was fun. See ya.
Bye, Bill.
Bye, Bill. But it's like, so yeah, it could, I don't know, they could do it effectively and maybe it's, I don't know. Are we certain that it's all for the Mandalorian? I don't know. But yeah, the Darksaber just really complicates things, especially when you're like, the Mando was told by the armor that his mission is to go find Baby Yoda's people. And it's like, okay, so that's the direction we're going in. We're not going to relive Rebels and who's ruling Mandalore again. Like, is that like, are we coming back to that, or is it all gonna happen? I don't know. It's confusing, and that's great though, because if we had some inkling of where shit was going and we knew all these castings and stuff, it wouldn't be that interesting. But holy cow, they've done a great job of setting it up, and I think we're all looking forward to it. And we only have a few more months.
Mm-hmm.
Time is flying, so it'll be here before we know it. Anything else about the Mandalorian or Empire or Episode 2 or
Ezra Bridger?
I'll just touch in on the Mandalorian here real quick.
Yeah.
If Bo-Katan is in the Mandalorian season 2, it had better be a flashback, because if she gave up the Darksaber without sacrificing her life, then what the F? I mean, seriously, dude. I mean, come on. That's something you defend to the death, and that does not walk away from your hand while you're still breathing.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought on her. Everything else, hopefully they're just setting up spin-offs to come down in the future. I can see Ahsoka kind of coming in because, I need, maybe even just in passing, where would this kid come from? I don't know. Yeah. There was Yoda and there was Yaddle, and that's all I know because they're 900 years old and I haven't seen anybody since then. So, you kind of get into that stuff. So, hopefully it's kind of that, and it's kind of, maybe it's like, oh yeah, I've seen space whales that are over here. And then, they all go in different directions and, everything's happy and it's just kind of that passing moment. But to set up stuff in this future, I mean, that would be totally awesome, and to get that connection. But
please, can we see some Purgles? I think we are deserving of live action Purgles.
Why do people give Purgles such a hard time? Why do people hate the Purgles?
They literally destroyed, I would say saved Ezra. I mean, right? Ezra Bridger, a beloved Star Wars character, was saved by space whales.
Like, what's not to love about space whales?
They're amazing and mystical creatures.
And there's been no reports of Thrawn being cast in anything. So until there's some blue guys, then there's no Ezra Bridger and there's probably no Sabine.
That was actually someone was speculating Timothy Oliphant being Thrawn. He's got the jawline,
but he's not British. Because the British always play the Imperial, so
exactly.
With the exception of Rey and Finn. Well, Finn started off as an Imperial, so it kind of works.
True, that's true. Yeah, it's God, I hope not. I hope Thrawn is something else, and that's another thing. Will we ever see any more stories about Thrawn? I don't know. We're getting even more backstory with a new Thrawn trilogy and novels. I don't know. Granted, they're going back in time, so we're not messing with any in the future. Maybe that's purposeful, but maybe we're supposed to get to know Thrawn a little more, even more than we do now, to understand where we're going in the future. I'm all for it. So apparently we're getting.
I was gonna say, if the Ezra Bridger series is true, if that rumor was true, I want to see more Thrawn in there, because I mean, A, they were last seen together, and B, I just think Thrawn's an awesome character, and I mean, you kind of have a bit of a loose thread from the new Thrawn trilogy with the Grisks. Like they defeat them in battle, and then it's just kind of like, well, they're still out there. It's not the Empire's problem. And then I'm kind of like, well, where are they? So I definitely want to see more of that. So.
Yeah.
Thrawn is just prime television material. You want to leave people on, with a cliffhanger, just have a scene with Thrawn and he says something really badass and it's like, and see you next week.
Scene.
It's like that. He is made for television.
Yeah,
I don't want to see him in a movie. I mean, it would be awesome. I'm not going to say I don't want that. That'd be sick. But
maybe that's Taika's.
Holy cow. I don't know. I don't know
that
if
could be totally awesome. Taika taking over the whole Thrawn and Ezra. Where did they go now? Where are they now? Sort of the series. Oh yeah.
A little more comedy with Thrawn.
Yeah.
Maybe
well, because you got Ezra in there, so Ezra's a little goofball anyway.
Exactly. So maybe their team. Maybe that would be the ultimate team up movie.
Also, Ezra and Thrawn had some really great back and forth moments in the last season of Rebels.
Oh God, I know what you're gonna say. Your favorite moment. What was it?
What was it?
He's rolling around on one of their Imperial bases. Ezra is, and he's rolling with his lightsaber. And what does Thrawn say?
Fascinating. That's like the best line.
That was comedic.
I think every time I say that all the time now.
Yeah, you do everything.
Fascinating.
I hang a poster on the wall. Fascinating. Yeah, I'm trying to mow the lawn. Holly's out there. Fascinating. Yeah, you use it all the time now.
Thrawn was just a great character.
He was. See, right. Maybe he's more comedic than I give him credit for.
It's just because he can like deadpan like these really like serious things, but then you're like, was that funny? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the red eyes. They throw you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, guys. Star Wars' future is bright, and I'm so excited for it. So stop hating on people. Stop, discouraging them from joining this community because you're a real douche.
And don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick or a douche.
Don't do it.
Man, so much cursing. I'm so sorry.
That's
my fault. That's my fault.
We're just really passionate.
It's the
council.
Yeah, you know what? We're all masters here. I feel like we could speak as such. Guys, anything else? Anything else you got on your chest? I have so much more I could talk about, but I will probably hold it in for another discussion. Phrasing.
What's that?
Yeah.
There's something else from Empire, and it just totally slipped my mind because I'm old and I've had too much scotch. But just keep talking; it'll come back to me.
That's something I'm really bad at is talking. So,
he says as he has a podcast.
I'll hit on one more Empire thing that Holly kind of made me think of was Yoda like laughing and giggling and being a goofball. What I love about it is he gets in some wisdom even when he's in that mode. Before he gets all serious and starts the training, he I think one of the best lines is Luke tells him, "I'm looking for a great warrior," and he says, "Oh, war not make one great." And it's still when he hasn't revealed who he is and he's acting goofy. So I love that. It really struck me. I just watched it last weekend to mark the 40th anniversary, and that line especially struck me. Like it's still in goofy mode, Yoda mode, before he gets training Yoda mode, but he still is able to lay down some wisdom even when acting like a nut.
Well, and they're stupid crap too. This is once again, it's like things that just surprise me over and over with Empire and all of them for that matter, but especially Empire. I have a calendar, at work, or I did last year, had random Star Wars facts or whatever, and the stew that Yoda's eating, and it's a little hut, and Luke's like, obviously it's a little bitter. It's a root stew. They told me it was root stew. I learned that it was root stew. No, never did I ever think I would get that answered. It was root stew. What's in root stew? I'm assuming root. Of what kind? I don't know.
This will not be a question in trivia for Empire.
Oh, shoot. It was not in the movie. Technically, it's in the movie, but it's not named, so.
Was it only root? Or there should have been some snake or something in there because we've seen that Baby Yoda at least likes the frog.
The frog.
Great point. That's actually there's another connection. Like, did he eat the snakes? I mean, I know he's comfortable with them. He has Hasbro figures of the snakes hanging around his neck. But yeah, did he eat them? He went out hunting. I know that one of his comic books he was out hunting, but it's like, what did Yoda eat besides roots?
Right. When do we see Yoda eat?
We didn't see him eat any of the root stew. No wonder Luke didn't trust it. He didn't eat any of it. Yeah, weird thoughts. Brent, did that pop up yet? What phrasing? Did the thought pop up yet?
Not my thoughts, but
The snake got him.
Snake got him.
more of the ways than one.
I hope it's not venomous. Oh, phrasing.
Wow.
But guys, anything else? Maybe Brent will pop up.
And say I'll just throw one thing out. Say I'm currently reading From a Certain Point of View, which was the collection of short stories that kind of filled in gaps around A New Hope that came out for that movie's 40th anniversary. And I know Lucasfilm is listening to this because, I mean, what else would they be doing?
Right.
Yeah. So give us one of these for Empire. I've enjoying this a lot so far.
Dude, great point, Nettie. Like, those stories revolve around that time period. Yeah, we have so many opportunities to fill in the gaps. There's creative people out there. Keep writing this stuff. Someone should have wrote about root stew.
Let me hear about Admiral Ozzel as he's like pulling out of hyperspace a little too early. I mean, pulling out early is usually a very good thing, but not out of hyperspace.
Right? Especially when you're trying to crush the rebellion. God. I love that. What a great reference. You know there was more thoughts going on there, a few more interactions. Yeah, the great point, Nettie. Holy cow. I still need to finish that whole thing. I've only read a few of those stories, and every single one I've read I've loved. So good call.
I'm only about halfway, but I mean, there's a story in there about the little red droid that got picked before R2, and like he blew a gasket on purpose to help R2, and I'm like, that's not something you would ever get from the movie. Like, it's just an awesome, like, whether it's canon or not, whatever. But I think it's just a fun time.
Well, and you know what? I always suspected that R2 did a little something to him, you know? But if he willingly blew his gasket or whatever happened,
I think actually in that story, like, R2 is trying to sabotage him and gets caught, so.
Well, then we have him to thank for, you know, saving the galaxy as well. Maybe a moment of silence. I can't even recall the droid's name, but Luke. Do we know?
Luke.
Do we recall his name?
Be there in a minute, Ambrose.
Luke is stalling for time so he can recall the the name.
Is it R5D4? Or that's in
I was gonna say R5. I didn't know the last part.
Okay, guys, I forgive you, but not in trivia. That would be an incorrect answer. Oh, well, guys, that probably about does it for us. These casual council sessions, they are casual, and that is what I love about it. But they get better and better as we get to know each other more and more. We obviously get more and more comfortable with our conversation, and they honestly get funnier as we go, Holly. I didn't know we had 4 comedians here with us.
There they are.
There they are. But maybe we'll go on a stand-up tour at some point. I am not sure about David's comedy chops. I know Dugan's pretty funny. I don't know about David. I haven't heard any of his comedy yet. So he may be actually a paid comic. I have no idea.
He probably is.
He probably is.
That's why he couldn't make it tonight.
I know he loves to put down rebellions. Not so sure about his comedy, though. So maybe you'll see a flying casual comedy tour. This is a whole new idea. I am so down. Maybe we'll do a little writer's lounge. We'll all write some jokes together. I'm so down. There won't be any phrasing, so that's strictly for the podcast.
Okay.
Strictly
Duly noted.
For the podcast.
Write that down.
Well, you guys listening, I hope
it's difficult for me to write jokes.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a fun one. I hope you're watching Empire wherever you are. 40 years of that. One of our favorites, hands down. And a little Mandalorian 2 talk. So Holly, any final words?
I got nothing.
No phrasings.
No phrasings.
Okay. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Show our patrons some love here. And if you want to join this Patreon class, go check us out on patreon.com/flying casual. I'm throwing out that URL. That may not actually be accurate.
We'll put.
I remembered what it was.
It sounds right.
No,
But check it out on.
Daddy, go behind him.
I remembered what I had for Star Wars for Empire.
No.
So little Easter egg for everybody. I don't know if you guys have all seen it, but when Luke is battling Vader at the end, there was a 40-year kind of foreshadowing as to who was going to be taking over the Star Wars. In one of the scenes behind them battling, there's a little Mickey Mouse logo on one of the walls before Luke gets tossed out of the window. So, yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, 40 years in the making, and that Easter egg's been there the whole time.
Okay, well now I'm gonna Google that. So I'm gonna
go back, watch the scene between Luke and Vader, and right before he gets tossed out the window, there's a little Mickey Mouse logo in the wall behind him.
See, Pete, that's crazy.
It's a long time to write out a contract.
It's serious.
They really have been thinking about it for a while. George's like, okay, we're at 2 billion now, and a couple more years we'll be at 4 billion. Geez, I'm gonna go check that out right now. I'm gonna put it on right now. We're gonna do that.
All right.
So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Check us out, on all social media platforms. Twitter, as you heard, not so strong with it. It's not my favorite platform, but you can definitely check us out on Facebook. Join our Facebook group. It's a lot of fun there. And if you want to join our Patreon family, go ahead and do that. If not, that's totally fine. Just keep on listening. But I enjoy every minute I get with these guys. It's a lot of fun. We get to do this monthly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be talking to you soon. May the Force be with you.